How do lawyers handle lying clients? Back over 40 years ago, when I was a young lawyer, I had a very believable client. He had always done the right thing by his family, always helped out in one civic group or the other. He was also a lay leader for his little church. This was the guy you were proud to call your friend. Now, as a sideline, he ran a second-hand goods booth at a local flea market. He would travel around the community, buying up used tool collections whenever some older people would retire or die, take these items home and clean them, buff them, shine them, then put them up for sale at his booth in the flea market. The booth provided his family with some extra income. Not a lot, but some. And when you have 4 kids like he did, every penny becomes precious. Well, one day the police arrested him for buying and receiving stolen goods. He came to me, as did his wife, his pastor, and several community leaders in his little town. They all crowded into our law office. He was innocent. He had bought the tools, from a total stranger he said, with no idea that they were stolen. Then he did the usual buff and shine and put them up for sale. And the rest was history. The only fly in the ointment was that he had, one time, years and years before, stolen a car for a joyride. The police caught him and he had a juvenile court record. But nothing bad since then, and all this good. I was up against Daughter of Darkness, a deputy DA who hated my guts for having shellacked her a few other times. However, she was no fool. And to be fair, she always tried to do the right thing. She offered me a misdemeanor cop-out plea. Probation, no time served, a big fine, and don't do it again. When I presented the deal to the client, he asked what I recommended. We had a strong case, with a small army of character witnesses. The DA had no proof of how he had acquired the tools. He said he'd bought them for cash, which was typical in the flea market trade at the time. The only problem with the case was, to prove his case, we would have to put my client on the stand. What other witness did we have who could tell his side of the story, about him innocently buying the tools? And then the DA would hit him, and hit him hard, with the joyriding conviction all those years ago. Note, the joyriding case had occurred well before the state had its youthful offender statute, expunging such convictions automatically if the offending juvenile played nice for the next 10 years or so. And of course my client had never had the cash to get this done through a formal court proceeding otherwise. We could lessen the DA's blow by having my man bring up his conviction in his own testimony, and how he'd always tried to live it down, tried for a lifetime to do that, making the DA's revelation seem like old news. Then our reputation witnesses could buff and shine my client's image better than he'd ever shined up any of the tools he had sold over the years. It should work, but there are never any guarantees. No one can predict what a jury is going to do. If my client won, he'd walk away free. If he lost, well, the alternative did not bear thinking about. It's almost the weekend, I said, so just take some time and think it over. Tell me what to do on Monday. Monday arrived. He came into the office, dejected. He'd plead guilty, and take the misdemeanor deal. Pay a fine, go on probation, do whatever they want. Just no prison, that would kill his kids. This would be bad enough, but the family could maybe move. But you're innocent. I cannot let you lie, and plead if you really are innocent. Think for a moment, that would be perjury. He looked sheepish. Well, he had known the tools were stolen when the fence offered him the tools at a real bargain price. In fact, he dealt with his fence, name omitted due to my faulty memory some 40 years later, many times. It was how he always had such good bargains at the flea market. That was how he'd made the business work, cash-wise. The lesson here, the lawyer can never afford to completely trust the client. You have to be wary of every witness, including the client. This time, I could perhaps let myself off the hook. What more could I have done to check his story out? Not much that I could think of, but if I had put him up as a witness, he would have been perjuring himself, another felony, and in essence I would be aiding and abetting him in doing that. And while I would not be doing that knowingly, my only legal excuse, I would have been somehow negligent in my ethical duty as an officer of the court, because we all swear never to put on false evidence and must exert every reasonable effort to be sure that no such thing ever happens. Had I done everything reasonable to check out my client's story in this case? While I would love to say that I'd done all the right things, the truth is, this is one of those cases that still bother me, years and years later.